By 1945, the world was a different place, and so was I. I'd seen the fire of the front lines, but the quiet of the Louisiana bayou had a different kind of weight. I was back behind the wheel, driving a taxi through the same shadows I thought I'd left behind in '34. It was a moonless night, the kind where the mist gets so thick you can't see the past or the future. I was just looking for one last fare before heading in, unaware that the bayou was about to call in a debt that had been gathering interest for 11 long years. Then I saw them, two figures standing in the middle of the road, stained and ragged, like they'd just crawled out of the mud. They didn't move, didn't wave. They just stood there in my headlights, waiting for me to stop. I should have kept driving, but something held my foot to the brake. They entered the car without a word. Just the sound of the door clicking shut and a silence that felt heavier than the engine's hum. I could feel them behind me, two presences that didn't belong in the living world. The moment they entered, the temperature plummeted. The interior turned to ice and the smell of old, cold iron filled the car. "Train station," the man rasped. His voice was the exact same dry gravel I'd heard back in the swamp when I was a boy. It was Clyde. I knew it before I even looked. He sounded like a man who hadn't used his throat for anything but screaming in a long, long time. I looked in the mirror, and there she was. Bonnie. Her eyes were hollow, filled with a mournful energy that made my blood run cold. She didn't look at me. She looked through me, staring at a world she'd been torn away from in a hail of lead. The smell hit me then, metallic and old. It was the smell of iron and burnt powder, the same scent that had filled the air on Highway 154 back in '34. It filled the taxi until I could almost taste the blood on my tongue. When they reached the station, the man reached forward to pay. A debt was finally being settled. The man reached forward to pay. I didn't want his money, but I couldn't say no. Next to him, she just watched, her long hair damp with the mist. The money he handed over was saturated, dripping with fresh, warm blood that stained Fletcher's hands as he took it. I blinked, and I was alone. I spun around, but the seat was empty. The door was closed, the fog was drifting through the open window, and there was no one there. No footprints in the mist, no sound of a door click, nothing but the blood on my hands. Then came the wail. A distant train whistle, lonesome and long, echoing through the station and back into the bayou. It sounded like a goodbye that would never be finished. I stood there in the dark, the blood still warm on my palm, listening to the silence return. I couldn't stay there. I drove away, my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold the wheel. The road ahead was just as empty as the seat behind me. I drove away from that platform as fast as the old taxi would take me, my hands shaking on the wheel like a leaf in a storm. Fletcher is an old man now, but his hands still shake. He knows the bayou never forgets, and neither does he. When I got home, I put those bills in a metal canister. I thought if I locked them away, I could lock away the memory too. I'm an old man now, sitting on this porch, but some debts never wash off, and some ghosts never leave the highway. The highway debt is a tether that pulls us all toward the shadows eventually. You just have to hope you're not the one behind the wheel when the mist starts to turn to ice. This has been Chapter 2 of Fletcher's journey. The story of the bayou is long, and there are still many shadows left to explore. The cicadas are quiet now. The bayou is breathing deep. Stay safe on the road, and remember, some fares are better left standing in the mist. Narrated by Uncle Fletcher, based on the haunting reality of the Louisiana bayou. And that was the end of the ride. The end of Chapter 2.